Hey, how's it going? My name is Walid Shaya.
I'm Kavita Raj.
And this is Lights,
Camera,
and Conversation. Cheers, Kavita.
Cheers.
And welcome back, everyone, to an exciting episode today.
Yes.
Today, we're going to be talking about a very, very trending topic.
Oh my God.
Cancel culture.
Cancel culture in 2023.
Drink to that, please. So we have a
God.
very interesting episode. I know the last few episodes, we've had some very special guests, and there are more special guests to come in the upcoming episodes of Season 2, so you don't want to miss it. Keep listening. Every Tuesday, new episode drops. Tell your friends, subscribe, like, share. Please
Yes.
give us a rating on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget, you can watch us on YouTube as well at Lights, Camera, Conversation.
And engage with us on social media. Your reviews mean a lot to us. So we really look forward
Yes.
to reading them, and thank you for that.
Yeah, and we want to know, what else do you want to hear? What would you
Yeah.
like us to talk about? Are there certain topics you're interested in, questions you have? Send them our way, and we'll do our best to incorporate them in future episodes.
Yes.
Now,
Absolutely.
onwards to cancel culture.
Oh my God. I just said 2023, but really, cancel culture has been around for a long time.
That's right.
Social media has just intensified it, right?
Absolutely.
It is one of those topics that we almost talk about it every week in our household, multiple times a week in the household, because there is so much in the news about musicians, actors, celebrities, just, people that are getting cancelled left, right, and center. Some of it for valid reasons, and sometimes not so much. So let's talk about this. What do you think?
Yes, I did my research before diving in today, so I can be a little more clear about it because I have my opinions, but I'm curious about what others see for solutions, especially when you think of crisis managers, for example, for these celebrities or people who are being canceled. How do you find a solution to cancel culture? So that's really the dive I went in. And, I learned a lot. So I'm actually excited to have a conversation with you in detail about it.
Yeah.
Shall we start at the beginning?
So, I was thinking that one of the things about cancel culture is that it really alters somebody's journey. It can be like really affecting your social media presence. It can affect the work that you do, the way people perceive you, of course. And it all comes down to the situation, and it's a case-by-case basis. It depends on what the issue is, what are people talking about,
Right.
what the gripe is, and
Right.
what's happening in the situation, what your line of work is, and so on and so forth. It really
Yes.
does affect people's livelihoods.
Yeah, and some people, they might go to court for it and have an official, hearing, right? Whether it's someone like Bill Cosby or R. Kelly, who got canceled righteously, and then they went to court, and you saw the verdict, folks. They were guilty,
Right.
Right? While someone like Chrissy Teigen was canceled for something very different. Okay, I'm not comparing the crimes, but she was not sent to court, but she was sent to the court of public opinion, and she, went through a lot being canceled for a long time. It was a sentencing of its own.
That's the thing. First of all, is the issue at hand something that's criminal? Is it
Right.
a civil issue? Is it a criminal issue? Is it something that involves the law? Did they break the law or not? Is there a lawsuit involved, right? So obviously the courts take over, the lawyers take over if it becomes like a legal issue. Or is it a matter of the court of social media?
Right.
The court of TikTok and the court of Instagram are deciding whether you deserve the platform you have based on what you did. And then there are we're going to dive into so many issues that cause people to be canceled.
Yes.
In 2023, 2022, 2021.
And let's see how far back we can go, right?
Yeah. Racism was a big thing.
Yes.
People are constantly called out for, something they've done, in public. And that involves, comments that are absolutely unacceptable.
Absolutely. So, looking back, there was a song in 1981 called Your Love is Canceled.
Oh my God.
All right.
Okay.
And it's an 80s bop. And I thought that was really funny. But I think dating way back, I mean, you mentioned racism, but beyond that, it makes me think of the story of the Scarlet Letter.
Yeah.
All right. How that woman in the story of the Scarlet Letter, she commits adultery. So they put a big A on her. And she has to walk around town forever being known as the adulteress.
Yeah.
And, you know, feel the shame for it. And I feel like today's cancel culture is a modern version of the Scarlet Letter.
Exactly. It's just a digital online version of it, right? But everyone has an opinion on what you've done, and everyone brings forth videos and facts and, you know, texts and so on and so forth. So,
you know, it comes up in politics as well. For example, in 2003, the Dixie Chicks criticized President Bush and the war in Iraq, and they got canceled for it.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the top reasons they changed their name to The Chicks instead of the Dixie Chicks.
I remember that. Yeah.
They rebranded. So that's actually interesting. We can discuss that for a moment too, is what happens after cancel culture, right? You have to do a rebrand, you have to go through an apology, and it really is in the court of public opinion if it's not an actual legal matter, if the people think your apology is sincere or not.
Yeah, but do you think in today's day and time, do you think rebranding will salvage your reputation and your brand? And, you know, first of all, I do think, let's just say hypothetically, what the person is cancelled for was really a conversation, and they do apologize, and the apology is somewhat acceptable, right, in the court of public opinion. Is a rebranding an option? Do you really get to come back with like a new name or a new image or a new, persona if the apology was not accepted? Or not acceptable?
Well, if the apology was not acceptable, then I think you have to keep trying or give it some space. I think time is the answer to a lot of people's problems and things. Whether you need something or you need to get away from something, it's time.
Yeah, and remember, we're not talking about criminal issues. We're talking
if it's something
about
general. Well, let's look at Jimmy Fallon, for example.
Yeah.
Jimmy Fallon apologized. This is a while ago on his show. It surfaced a photo of him when he was about 20 years old or something like that, where he was in blackface. All right, that's very controversial.
Yep.
That's very inappropriate. And he apologized for it. His show continued. There was some, drama and turmoil for a moment, but his show went on. He's still on air now. Meanwhile, compared to Shane Gills, who's a cast member on Jimmy's show, not too long ago, a role was taken away from Shane. He's no longer a cast member because a year previous to his dismissal, clips surfaced about Shane making anti-Asian remarks, right? And I guess his apology, Shane's, was not good enough. Maybe Shane's clout and fame was not high enough to be as admissible and forgivable in comparison to Jimmy's, but he's no longer on the show. So it's not black and white, and it's not equal in terms of scenario.
Exactly. What makes some people's situations be forgivable and others not? What is that factor that people are deciding where some people are okay to be accepted back into the fold and some not so much? Because some people are cancelled and they're really gone. They lose their brand endorsements, they lose their job,
like Kanye
they lose
West.
their clients. Kanye West is a very interesting conversation. I think that people kept giving him a long rope. They went with everything that he had done in previous years. They were able to accept it because his music was just so great, in my opinion. And people just loved the genius brand, human music brand that he is. But I think he took it too far. And I think that one comment that was
anti-Semitic and inappropriate
last year was...
It pushed him over the edge.
Exactly,
That was the breaking point. Yes, Jinx. Cheers, bestie.
Yes.
We're thinking the same thing.
Great minds, right?
Absolutely. So that's so interesting because there is something to do with clout and the clout you have. And
you would have thought he has a lot of clout.
But I think the thing is, and I will say this, there's also something to do with the media, not just social media, but the media as well, and how people paint you and what light they put you. And there's a give
Very
and
interesting.
take, right? There's a give and take because you fuel that fire as well. You're the subject. And unfortunately, the media has been very, very hard on Kanye. And I'm not saying if it's right or wrong,
Sure.
but I'm just saying maybe, the media is not hard on everybody,
Yeah.
right? Not everyone has the media following them. So it doesn't make it easier. Same thing with what's happening to Britney Spears nowadays. People are canceling her going to be now ex-husband because they're saying, several things, and cancel culture is happening. But these conversations are between their own, walls and windows and doors. You don't have any business to do with someone's marriage or relationship.
Sure.
Why are you canceling anyone? You don't know the facts or the
Right.
truth. So media really comes to play an interesting role that's more powerful in a way beyond social media because of the reach.
Yeah. Karens on social media
Right.
is like it's one of the most searched things on any platform, right? Karen's gone wild, Karens of TikTok, Karens of Instagram, Karens of Twitter, X now, sorry.
X, yes, exactly.
It's crazy. People losing their minds in public, and then the next day people literally finding where they work, finding where they are, where they live, I don't know, but definitely finding a way to make sure that their employers and brand sponsors are all aware of what happened,
Right.
and the videos are circulated, and you don't get away with it usually.
Correct.
So it's still a mystery to me what makes some people.
Now listen, there are some
Get away with
cases
it.
of it where I'm here for it. For example, for social justice, right? When we have footage of people committing some heinous acts against other humans, whether it's bigotry or name calling,
Of
or it's
course.
physical,
Of course.
or it's cops acting unjust.
That's borderline legal.
That's a borderline legal thing, but the reality is there hasn't been proof to bring it to a legal charge. People are still looking for
Yeah.
the people involved. So that's where social media comes in.
Yeah.
Someone goes to get canceled, and like you said, the people get found. They're found at their place of work. They're found who they are. They're exposed. And hopefully from there, it can go into a legal hearing.
Yeah.
And you can get justice. And that's why I think when it does come to the courts, it is so important for these people to clear their name.
Yeah.
If their name is to be cleared. Like, for example, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. People wanted to cancel Johnny. People wanted to cancel Amber.
Yeah.
They went to court in Europe as well as in America. And, it was the talk of the town.
Yeah, but people were, I think, social media was leaning heavily towards
Johnny.
They liked Johnny,
Yes.
and they were, just waiting to cancel Amber Heard because she just kind of, I feel like her body language opened herself up to it. It doesn't mean that she is right or wrong. It just means that that's just the way she was perceived. So maybe perception is a very important
Yes.
thing. Your sincere apology has to be very sincere. I think it
Yes.
has to be heartfelt and people have to feel it. I think that helps your case a
Yeah.
lot when you are trying to redeem yourself from a situation. And I really do think there is there's some level of, as you said, social clout, your level in
Your
the
likeness.
business, your likeness,
Right.
endearing, all of that.
And
It matters.
what you said about perception reminded me of a story, because perception is reality, and that's something
Yes.
I've grown to learn. Let's take it for example with social media and with a grain of salt. What people see on there is the reality of what you're up to. So the goal is to look busy on social media and active because you're a business, right? If that's what you're using it for, of course, because your business needs to be in business. I mean, as simple as that. Now, it reminds me of a story when I was working at a studio in New York when I had first moved there. I was opening the studio in there very early and just setting up for sessions. And I would take my lunch break around 11 or noon. Mind you, I'd been there since 6 or 7 a.m. So it's like
Right.
already half the day for me, okay? So our main boss would walk in around that time. And he'd always see me in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That was his first impression of me.
you, of perception.
Or,
Wow.
first perception of the day. And so word got to me from my boss, right, who is his boss as well, that you need to have lunch at a different time. Just don't have it when the main guy who's running this company is walking in.
Why is he walking in at 11?
Well, you know what? That's the whole question of its own. I don't run the company. I don't know, but
8, 9, I get. What's
and
11
he would
about?
stay. He would stay till like 11 midnight, 1. Like
Okay, fine.
especially in our
Sure,
field.
just curious.
our hours aren't
Yeah,
always
of course.
traditional.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter, the lesson I got from that is perception is reality. This person perceives that you're always in the kitchen
Sure.
because they don't always see you working. So
Right.
instead, I have to change how he's seeing me. So when he comes in, I'm, with my files, I'm working with, getting the productions ready and set up.
Yeah.
I'm carrying a bunch of lights and cameras and
Yeah.
looking busy because that's the
Yeah.
whole idea. Look busy.
Yeah.
And not just look busy. I was
Yeah,
genuinely busy.
yeah.
But that
You
was a
know.
lesson on, perception. And I think it's no different than on social media. And then
Yeah.
people, want to be perceived a certain way.
Yeah.
And then they end up getting, canceled if something goes awry.
Yeah. And that, not to digress from the topic of cancel culture, but slightly coming to the perception, it's also cultural, right? We're raised to believe that you let the work speak for itself. Don't worry, your quality of your work will be seen
Yes.
and heard. So you don't have to worry about, being perceived a certain way.
Right.
But you do. At the end of the day, corporate America is all about politics. It is about how you look and how you appear. And, the loudest voice in the room gets heard. The squeaky
What
wheel
is it?
gets
Closed
the grease.
mouths don't get fed.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
so
go.
you do need to, you were right in like walking around with the lights. And
Right.
everything.
So there have been some positive examples of cancel culture being taken to heart and turned around in a good direction. For example, Taylor Swift, she re-edited her anti-hero video for
Correct.
accusations of fat phobia. Right? Lizzo and Beyonce and several artists rewriting and re-releasing songs, so rewriting lyrics and re-releasing songs that used slurs
Sure.
or something that might be derogatory
Yep.
or not appropriate for certain cultures. And the list goes on.
People who redeem themselves.
People redeem
Yeah.
themselves. So that's the positive side of it. But really, the question is, what about free speech, right?
Yeah.
And why should I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells? Just to play the devil's advocate. So maybe we can go into that for a moment.
It is a thing, right? I mean, we are in a country where you're allowed to express your opinions, but you're also on social media, so that is where you're walking on eggshells. And I don't think everyone has the courage to face the backlash that comes from it. So that's a very internal thing, right? Do you have that thick skin and the kind of determination to just face it? Are you going to be okay with like, hey, any kind of fame is good fame, even bad.
All publicity is good publicity,
exactly,
right?
Is good for you. Are you of that mindset, or are you the kind of person that would delete a horrible comment and totally delete your own post because you're just not ready to face it in protection of your own mental health?
Right,
So
and
it all
someone else
depends
could
on-
have screenshot it before you deleted it
Sure.
too. These are all other stories, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many layers to all of this, right? And then at the end of the day, some people feel like protecting their mental health is the foremost important thing. So then you may feel like, I don't want to keep this up, and I just don't want to deal with this.
So, we hear that the brain is fully developed when we're 25 years old, right? Yet one mistake.
I'm waiting for that.
One
but okay.
mistake will, here we go, right? One mistake can change your whole future.
Of course.
So
my
just
God,
that one
yes.
moment, and it might not even be something you're aware of or did now.
Sure.
It might be something that you did when you were a teenager, especially, these current generations of Gen Z being born, into the technology world with everything online.
Sure.
It might bite you in the butt later.
Yeah.
I did not have social media when I was 12 and 13, and I'm sure I said some stupid stuff when I was 12 or 13,
Right.
like any 12 or 13-year-old will. And then my mom's probably smacked me and told me to have a clean mouth and
Right.
be respectful. And,
Right.
and I've learned, and I probably haven't done it since, but gosh, I can only imagine what would happen if I had clips of whatever that could have been
imagine
online.
if you had like phones and documentation of everything and social media where you're putting stuff out there. Also, I do think that it's one of those things that, as you said, it changes with generation.
Yes.
What we went through then is very different from how kids feel now. And then there is that whole section of people that are, called cancel culture vultures. They're just
tell me about
waiting.
that.
They're just waiting for somebody to make a mistake, right?
Okay.
You cannot just live your life like that It's imagine the vibration you're living in, just waiting for someone to make a mistake so you can pounce on them, catch them.
Do they have
and
nothing better to do? That's trolling in its own way
that's
too.
That's trolling in its own way.
Like mind your own business.
So we're talking about this section of our conversation is about the nuance of things, right? We're not talking about black and white things.
Correct.
Things that are obviously cancel worthy and things that are obviously not cancel worthy. We're talking about the things that are in between.
That are personal preference. There's personal preference, maybe there's religious preference.
Absolutely.
Maybe there's also people's environment and their upbringing. They don't know better.
Sure.
They're genuinely, and it doesn't make it okay. Ignorance, doesn't make things acceptable. But, it comes down to how do we react?
How beautifully said.
How do we react?
There's nothing, for example, however, whatever the situation may be, however you feel, nothing justifies screaming at a server or screaming at like a service person and behaving badly in public. If you're caught on camera, that's it. That is out there for the world to see. So we're not talking about such easy black and white things to judge. The subtle things that are I don't know about the whole Ariana Grande situation with her new boyfriend and him having been married before. A lot of people feel like that is something that she needs to address, and that is something that was not cool what she did. And people are kind of wanting to cancel her, but she is Ariana Grande. And is this going to be a situation where she gets away with it because she is, again, such a great artist and puts out so much? I don't know. It's one of those subtle things. I mean, it's a personal thing too, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's personal. It's that line where, again, it's none of your business what Ariana Grande is doing with her marriage behind closed doors. And at the same token, the moment she stepped into the spotlight, collected a check at the value she's getting for being not just a performer, but a public figure and a personality.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of what comes with it. I'm not saying she deserves it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is how it should be. I'm just saying this comes, with the territory. This is part of the baggage. So you either got to keep it under closed wrap and tight-lipped, and even when you do that, sometimes things leak, right? And it leads to cancel culture, or it leads to fans, not being so happy with the choices you made, whether they cancel you or not. There's talk and gossip. I think gossip's the big word here. So the question is, at what level is it my business, and at what level do I, as an artist or a public figure, have to take more accountability?
Right. And in recent weeks, we've all been reading about the Lizzo situation, right? My feeling is more details are yet to come out. It is now an official lawsuit. So we'll see. We're not delving in this instance into the deepest of details. We are skimming the surface in conversation about the concept of cancel culture.
Yes.
But oh my gosh, I am reading so much about it. It really seems to be a divided opinion in the court of TikTok that, some people really do feel like her behavior with her dancers was very out of line.
It's going to real court, though.
Yeah.
And I just saw this recently as well, that Lizzo's lawyers found photos of her dancers back at those clubs in Amsterdam,
I heard that too.
partying a couple weeks later after Lizzo took them there.
Right.
And so it's ironic that they didn't feel comfortable there with Lizzo, yet they're back. And here's the thing, there might be more to it. That's also someone else's angle and edge. But it really does keep going back and forth. And for this case, there is not only the actual court case, but there is the court of public opinion. So Lizzo's going through it, and so are the people involved.
So the people involved, and it is just one of those things that we'll see the facts as they unfold, the facts as best as they can find, right? As they unfold, we'll see what happens. And again, there's so many layers to all of this. The dancers going back to the nightclub was, are you comfortable doing this because you're with your peers versus being there with your boss? I don't know. There's so many different layers to this, and who knows exactly where her liability lands in this instance, where her responsibility is in this. Nothing ever excuses being horrible and disrespectful to your employees and your team and all of that stuff, because that is...
It goes back to kindness, and beyond kindness and respect, I want to encourage those of you that have not heard our episode on having personal and professional relationships to go back and listen. It's great. I believe it's in season 1.
Yes.
And you don't want to miss that episode, because that's really what we're talking about here with Lizzo. Personal and professional. Those lines got blurred, and it led to this cancellation.
Exactly. I do think that it is difficult, because if you do lose if one loses their, say, livelihood, over this. What then? Do you give it time? Does time help the situation? Time usually does. Do some people come back? For example, Kevin Spacey, years after, I think he was super cancelled, right? Because it was a very, very serious accusation. It was a criminal case in court. I think recently he was deemed
not guilty. Correct.
So that is very interesting, right?
It was very interesting. I read that not too long ago as well, and I know a couple years ago when the Me Too movement popped off.
Correct.
Anthony Rapp accused Kevin Spacey of harassing him when he was 14, when Anthony was 14, and then the Me Too movement came about with Harvey Weinstein and a list of names, right? A laundry list of names that went down. But the bottom line is, here we are seeing what happened in court, and this is a whole other conversation, but it doesn't always mean that the court verdict is also true, right? We've seen and heard about cases where people on death row are wrongly convicted.
Sure.
Now that's a whole other thing. It's not a thing about cancel culture, but I'm just talking about really accuracy in politics. So I think in all of this we do our best, but one thing I did want to come back down to is what you said about the toll it takes on the person, right? And before you even get canceled, I think there's a toll now, not just on celebrities, but on regular people, right?
100%.
So studies have shown they repeatedly check social media, not just because it's addictive, but if you might be worried, you might have anxiety, you might have OCD. What did I post? Not only is it okay, am I going to get likes, but is it okay? Can I get canceled? Did I say something wrong? So many of my friends have been like, is this caption good or is this caption good? What are you worried about?
Yeah.
I think that's really the question. I mean, that's really what the question here is, what are you worried about? You don't want to be searching for evidence of wrongdoing, almost putting yourself in a negative, energy, in a negative light, and not seeing the glass half full, but being pessimistic. It's a very dangerous place to live.
Yeah. I mean, if you're, again, coming back to walking on eggshells.
Yes.
Then how free are you really in expressing yourself? How comfortable are you? Talking of cancel culture, a few years ago, like a decade ago, it was a different form of cancel culture, but the Michael Jackson situation, R. Kelly situation,
Yes.
Not to make light of either of those situations at all, but recently I saw someone, is either an actor or a comedian, comment on how both of them deserve to be cancelled, but one was and one kind of wasn't, because one person's music was better than the other. So it's like just difficult to not listen to one person's music.
And even J.K. Rowling, right? We talked about what clout do you have.
Right.
She's got canceled. She wasn't at the reunion for the Harry Potter HBO special.
Right. She wasn't.
So that's an example. But her work and her enterprise and Hogwarts and Universal and all that's still happening. She's collecting her coin. The point of canceling people, it's like sanctions, right? It's to really take your brand deals, take your money, it's to make an impact. Or is it really to teach you a lesson? What is the range, and does it depend on the actions or crime?
Right. I think it has to be correlating with what actually was said, what was actually done, and I think that's fair. And coming back to the people that are just waiting to, kind of end people's presence because they have the power to do so. That's just sad.
So what could be a solution? Like social scores? That sounds very Black Mirror.
That is
how
interesting.
Some places are playing with social scores, right? We have credit scores these days. Credit scores affect how you get a home. If you can buy a house, your livelihood, they do.
Yeah.
But what about getting into social scores? And we see it in metrics on social media.
Yeah.
There's a lot of data already collected on us.
Yeah.
And in some places like China, they're already using, social scores.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's absolutely happening already, right? And you're seeing it in real time. I do think that where does it go from here, right? Once you start with social scores, who is the arbitrator of the score and how is it evaluated? Is it just, your social media numbers? Because that's not a real reflection, right? You could be having high numbers because of some professional work you did, or you could be having high numbers because you marketed very well, you had marketing dollars behind it. You could have high numbers for a variety of reasons because you did something infamous and you have high numbers because of that. but it's a social media clout where you're just not cancelable because it's a high number because you're just so proper in everything, you're not cancelable. Then are you kind of teetering on safe? Are you interesting? Are you engaging? Are you being fun? And then once you start wanting to be all of that, then are you going to say something? I don't know. It's just such an interesting metric.
Right.
But I do think that at the end of the day, there is right and wrong. At the end of the day, there is good intention and bad intention. And decent people feel it. So that's a general northern star to guide yourself by.
Right. So is that what you would say is kind of the silver lining? What advice do we want to give to aspiring artists and just people out there who are, interacting on social media in relation to cancel culture? How can we move forward more positively? Is it creating a good, chain of social change and cause and effect? And if not, how can we make it better?
I think if a safe way would be to limit your social media posts to your professional work and keep your personal stuff to yourself, as in enjoy your life, live your life, enjoy it. And if you really feel the need to share your personal matters on social media, which we all do, I do, you do, which we all do, I mean, maybe be mindful
graceful.
that it is straightforward, keep it to the facts and positive. And like I said, again, going back to the intention, the communication is decent. But then again, I'm going to be totally, negated by people that are like, oh, that's not fun, that's not engaging, that's not controversial, that's not drama.
Like Cardi B, she says the craziest stuff. She popped off because she went live when she was, stripping back in the day before she even became a full star, rapper. And that is her brand, and she's unhinged and says what she wants, and she apologizes. I've heard her apologize before, and I've heard her not apologize before.
Of course.
So that's an example of that. Back to the two words, free speech. But I think at the end of the night, similar to what you said, Kavita, it's finding that nice balance for anybody.
Yeah.
Just because you can say something doesn't mean you need to. Like my mother told me, if you have nothing nice to say, just don't say it.
Yeah.
Right.
But that is not the premise of reality shows these days, right?
That's a whole other world.
You will get a full-on deal if you had something crazy to say about someone and say it.
Yes,
and
exactly. So that's a whole other world, and we should discuss reality shows on another episode soon too.
So it also comes down to your human brand. So what is it that people want out of you? What is it that they're looking for? Are they looking for the drama? Is that your character? Is that your brand? Is that what you're going for?
Right.
So
like if you're Perez Hilton, I mean, your brand is to be dramatic and to say some crazy stuff.
Absolutely.
You're a gossip columnist, right?
Yeah, exactly.
While if you're the president, your brand is to be a little bit more of a, authentic political figure that's professional, collected, and a leader.
We should do a whole episode on cancel culture in politics.
Yeah, that would be so interesting. So we're curious to hear what you guys think is the line for cancel culture. Is it black and white? Is it gray? Let us know on TikTok. Let us know on Instagram. And if you want to email us any questions, ideas, thoughts for future episodes, or thoughts on this, you can also email us at lightscameraconversation@gmail.com. We definitely want to hear from you.
Yes, absolutely. Please join us in the conversation. This one especially because this is, just happening every day. We're all looking at stuff on social media. So this would be a great conversation for us to have together. So
yes. Now, on to something a little bit more fun and light because my wine is done.
Oh my gosh.
Cancel culture took, that whole glass of wine straight down smoothly, and it tasted delicious, Kavita.
Yes.
Let's go on to pop culture.
Yeah.
It is October, and we are talking about Halloween costume ideas that are influenced by film and TV and music, right?
So tell me what's happening this year. What are we all wearing?
I have a list of some of the costumes that I think are going to be the most popular costumes you're going to see this year. If any of you are dressing up as any of these characters, let us know. Send your pics after, your celebrations. We want to see them, and we'll repost and share on our stories. So first and foremost, Barbie and Ken.
Of course,
Barbie and Ken, the pink get-up, roller blades, the visor, Venice Beach vibes, Barbie babes. It's going to be in.
So exciting.
Right?
That is going to be
Ken's
so
going to do
fun.
beach, and Barbie's going to do all that she does that's fabulous and cute.
Yes. I live on a hill, though, so I don't think I'll be in roller skates.
No roller skates for you. Little Mermaid. all
Oh,
the
cute.
characters from The Little
Lovely.
Mermaid.
Okay.
It's a great ensemble piece. We're going to see a bunch of Ursulas, I'm sure.
Okay, cute.
Right?
Yeah.
And that'll be great for drag queens too, to come do some Ursula action.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Now, this one was one of my favorites, Megan.
Oh, yes.
That like suspense horror doll chick that dances and is like crazy trying to take over.
That's going to be insane. That is going to
That
be
movie
so
was
cute.
ridiculous. I don't
Yeah.
have much to say
I haven't
about
seen
it.
it, but yeah.
Well, I don't know how much you're missing. I know some of my friends saw it twice.
Oh, they did?
And I saw it once and I thought that was enough for me. There are some other awesome ideas. Queen Charlotte from Bridgerton.
Oh, I love. Oh my
so
God.
we're going to see lots of Victorian dresses.
I'm obsessed.
Some hair and crowns, and it's going to be really epic and regal. Listen, this next one's my favorite one, and I actually saw this costume last Halloween. It was some amazingly fun, fabulous gay guy at Webster Hall was in drag as AMC Nicole Kidman. This was when I was in New York
Wait,
last year.
but that was like just her hanging out in the theater.
Right, and it's hilarious. So he's dressed in like a pants and bodysuit as Nicole Kidman. He has a popcorn bucket.
Okay.
He has Oscars and awards in it.
Okay.
And you know, you can't miss it. It's AMC Nicole Kidman doing
AMC
that
Nicole
epic
Kidman.
monologue.
I did not even realize that's
that
an
we
actual
hear when we go.
costume.
Well, that's the thing. Pop culture will do
Yeah,
that,
I
right?
love it.
Nicole Kidman's so epic in that monologue that screens before every AMC film
Yes,
that
yeah.
it became a costume. So if you're listening, guy who was AMC Nicole Kidman last Halloween at Webster Hall, give us a shout. We want to
Yes,
credit you
please.
because it's epic.
Yes.
Wednesday Addams from the
Yes,
Addams
that's
family.
a classic. That's going to be
right?
great. She was lovely.
She's amazing.
Got to learn the
and
dance though.
Gotta learn the dance, yes, to that Gaga song. Of course, Mario, Luigi, Peach, the Warner Brothers Super Mario
Okay.
Enterprise, right? And then this was a funny one, Nepo babies.
Oh.
You can be a Nepo baby.
That
like,
is so funny.
Like Hailey Bieber, you're gonna wear a white t-shirt with
Okay.
iron-on letters, and you're gonna have an unbothered attitude.
Nicole
All
Richie.
right? Nicole Richie, yes,
That is
Nepo
so
babies.
funny, yeah.
Rihanna from the Super Bowl
That
in a
is
red jumpsuit.
Fabulous. Oh, love. Okay.
Ted
All the
La-
dancers, the backup dancers in the
backup
white
dancers,
thing.
Yep, as well.
That'd
I
be
mean,
so
the whole
funny.
Super Bowl performance was trending for a while.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
was doing the choreo with the hand behind the back
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
pumping.
yeah.
It was
That
fun.
was so fun.
Ted Lasso
Okay, classic.
got so many Emmy
You
nominations.
could have like a mustache.
a little
and be Ted
mustache and be
Lasso.
Ted, grab a soccer
yeah,
ball
yeah.
and get on out there.
Love it. Okay.
And of course, all of our action adventure films, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible. These were
Marvel.
all big summer blockbusters
Yeah.
from Marvel, right? And we're going to see a lot of superheroes back again. Some of these are redundant to past years, but some are special, and you'll see they're all a trend from film, TV, and media.
I can't wait to see what you're going to be this year.
And I can't wait to see what you're going to be this year.
I'm still
And we
figuring it
can't
out.
wait for you guys to hear more about it.
Yes.
We hope this gives you some ideas for your Halloween costumes.
Yes, and share it with us. Send us pictures, and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Without further ado, I'm
Yes.
Walid Chaya.
I'm Kavita Raj.
We'll catch you next week, and this is Lights
Camera
and Conversation. Cheers. I need a
You
refill.
need a refill, bestie.
Hey, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow on Instagram and TikTok. We love interacting. Also, the content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, which we love, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from Lights Camera Conversation or our individual authors, hosts, or guests. Nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. We always encourage you to do your research. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Lights Camera Conversation. The views expressed by speakers are their own, and their appearance on our program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity that they represent. Thanks for listening, and until next time, have a great day.